I found the words, "I love her like my own daughter," written in my mother-in-law's journal 3 days after her funeral. I sat on her cold bedroom floor and cried so hard I could not breathe. For 12 years, she had never said those words to my face. Not once. But to understand why those words broke me, I must go back to the day I first entered her house as her son's wife. My name is Emily Carter. I was 34 years old when my mother-in-law, Margaret, died. I had been married to her son Daniel for 12 years. Margaret was always polite but distant. She never hugged me, she never praised me, she never said, "I love you." I thought she accepted me only because she had to. I did not know she had loved me in silence for years. The first time I met Margaret, I brought homemade apple pie. I wanted her to like me. She opened the door, looked at the pie, and said, "You did not need to bring anything." Her voice was calm, but cold. During dinner, I tried to talk. She answered with short sentences. When I helped wash the dishes, she said, "I can do it myself." I smiled, but inside I felt pushed away. That night, I told myself she would warm up with time, but she did not. After Daniel and I married, I tried even harder. I remembered her birthday, I called her every Sunday. I asked for her recipes. She always answered politely, but there was a wall in her voice. Once I said, "Margaret, I made your soup." She tasted it and said, "It needs less salt." That was all. I laughed softly, but my eyes burned. I began to believe I would never be good enough for her. The pain grew after my first miscarriage. I was broken. I stayed in bed for days. Margaret came to our house with food. She placed it on the kitchen counter and said, "You need to eat." I waited for her to hug me. I waited for one soft sentence, but she only looked at the floor and left. I cried after she walked out. I thought, even now, she cannot show love. Years passed. I had a daughter, Lily. Margaret loved Lily in a quiet way. She knitted sweaters for her. She saved every small drawing Lily made. But even with Lily, she rarely said sweet words. She fixed things, she cooked, she cleaned, she showed up. But she never said what I needed to hear. One Christmas, Lily asked, "Grandma, do you love Mommy?" The room became silent. Margaret only said, "Your mother is a good woman." That answer hurt more than I expected. A good woman, not family, not loved, just good. After that, I stopped trying as much. I still visited, I still helped, but my heart became careful around her. When she looked tired, I asked if she needed anything. She said no. When I offered to stay longer, she said, "Go home." I thought she wanted distance. I did not understand that she was already afraid of needing me. Then Margaret became sick. At first, she hid it. She said it was only age, but her hands shook when she poured tea. She forgot small things. She sat down often and pressed her hand to her chest. I offered to take her to appointments. She refused. "I do not want to be a burden," she said. I answered, "You are not a burden." She looked at me strangely, almost sadly. Then she turned away before I could see her face. During her last month, I visited every day. I cooked soup, I washed her clothes, I changed her sheets. She thanked me, but never warmly. One evening, I sat beside her bed and said, "Margaret, did I ever do something wrong?" Her eyes filled with something I could not read. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Finally, she whispered, "No, Emily." I waited for more, but no more words came. The day before she died, she asked me to open the curtains. Sunlight filled the room. She watched it touch the blanket. I stood beside her, not knowing what to say. Then she reached for my hand. It was the first time she had ever done that. Her fingers were weak and cold. I looked at her face, hoping she would finally say the words I had waited years to hear. Instead, she whispered, "In the drawer." I did not understand. "What drawer?" I asked, but she was too tired to answer. She only looked toward the old wooden desk near the window. I thought she meant medicine, papers, or something for Daniel. I nodded and told her to rest. The next morning, she was gone. At the funeral, people said she was strong, private, and careful with emotions. I stood beside her grave and felt guilty for still feeling unloved. 3 days later, I went to her house to clean her room. I opened the drawers she had looked at. Inside, under old letters and folded scarves, I found a brown journal. My name was written on the first page. My hands began to shake. I sat on the floor and opened it. The first line said, "If Emily finds this, I hope she forgives me." My breath stopped. I turned the page and found a woman I had never known. Margaret wrote about the first day we met. She wrote, "Emily brought apple pie. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to say my son had chosen well, but my body froze." Then she wrote about her childhood. Her own mother had punished her for showing emotion. When Margaret cried, she was called weak. When she said, "I love you," she was laughed at. She learned to hide love before anyone could hurt it. I kept reading through tears. She had written about my miscarriage. "I wanted to hold Emily," she wrote, "but I was afraid my touch would make her pain worse. So I brought food, because food was the only love I knew how to give." I covered my mouth and cried. All those years, I had seen coldness, but in her pages, I saw fear. She had loved me, but she did not know how to let love leave her mouth. Then I found the entry about Christmas. Lily had asked if Grandma loved Mommy. Margaret wrote, "I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say I love Emily like my own daughter, but the words got stuck in my throat. I saw hurt in Emily's eyes. I hurt her again." I read that sentence many times. She had seen my pain. She had not ignored it. She had carried it quietly beside her own. The last pages were written with shaky handwriting. "Emily stayed when I became weak," she wrote. "She washed my sheets with gentle hands. She asked if she had done something wrong. The answer is no. The wrong thing is inside me. I loved her for 12 years and made her feel unwanted." Then came the sentence that broke my heart. "Please tell her I was proud to be loved by her." I closed the journal and held it to my chest. For years, I had waited for Margaret to become warm. I never understood that she was fighting an old winter inside herself. Later, I placed the journal beside Lily's drawings and kept it safe. I still wish Margaret had said "I love you" while she was alive. But now I know love can be real, even when it is trapped behind silence. Some people do not fail to love us. They only fail to show us where the love is hidden.